All right, let's go ahead and have a look at some of the dailies here this morning. And we'll start off with Nigerian Tribune. CBN intensifies Naira defense. Foreign reserves deplete by $595 million in 1 month. And that's the big lead on the front page of Tribune here this morning, focusing on the economy, continuing with that perspective about the Naira here today by the CBN. Well, right after that, you get the Business Day. Crazy cocoa prices cripple local processors, chocolatiers. So that's Business Day's lead story on the front page. But they do also have some narrative or some reports about CBN as well, which is above this lead story here. Dollar supply seen rising on CBN's new directive. That's their own version of the CBN related story on the front page here, so you might want to check that out as well. Daily Trust equally have a lead story about the CBN, and their version reads: CBN sacks 50 more staff, 117 gone in 20 days, staff accused management of illegality, double standard, external vendors affected. So, well, you get to see that one as well there. And then from Daily Trust, we switch on to the Daily Times. Tinubu to Nigerians: remain patriotic, love, defend Nigeria's integrity. And the writer here says renewed hope agenda being diligently implemented. So that is Daily Times reports on that this morning. Well, similar to Daily Times is Daily Independent. Eid: continue to have faith in my government, Tinubu tells Nigerians. Says Dangote, rare industrialists keeping Nigeria on global map. Yeah, so you see that one as well. Beneath that list story, FG assures on better power generation, transmission, distribution soon. Well, the natural question, what does this soon mean? What context? How soon is soon? So probably if you pick up a paper, it might have some reference there. You never know. But Vanguard, it's the lead story: tariff hike. 20 hours supply for Band A customers under threat. The first of the ride now, as power allocation hovers at 3,236 megawatts. PH Disco apologizes for shortfall. Kaduna Disco sets up response teams. No transparency, fairness in billing. Ascribed to the CPPE, firms will pay for the services they don't enjoy. LCCI, as Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Experts expect improvement in supply. So all of those stories, the writers associated with that lead story on the front page here this morning, talking about the Daily Times. The Guardian, NSAS Pro Panel report. Victims await 1.7 billion naira compensation from 25 states 3 years after. Well, I know many may be surprised at this. Well, some may say, look, well, isn't it typical? So does it mean that all of this was taken with what? Kids' gloves? Is it being handled that way? Why is it still at this point victims await 1.7 billion naira compensation from 25 states 3 years after? Does it mean they don't ever believe in what transpired at the time? Who knows? But this is the lead story here this morning. News Direct. Black Wednesday. Tragedy taints Eid celebrations in Lagos. Commercial bus tumbles. Flings 2 passengers into lagoon on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Well, the bridge has just been opened, and so what a scenario. Unfortunate, really. Sanwo-Olu mourns as Isolo traditional ruler passes away after Eid prayers. So that is Nigerian News Direct here. Well, this Nigeria, outrage in Zamfara as NSCDC kills woman during Eid prayer. Mob set NSCDC vehicle on fire as police arrest 2 officials in connection with killing. You don't want to, well, probably it's good to always read the story and find out what transpired Because, I mean, many may just think it's business as usual, the way some of those incidents occur, and with recklessness that comes to some of them previously. But we don't know unless you read this story, so you can put them in proper context in terms of what transpired, as this Nigeria reports here this morning. The Nigerian Observer: Lagos-London route, FG may query foreign airlines on price cuts amid allegations of anti-competitive practices. So, well, maybe many already read between the lines on this one. They tell you, look, what is with all of this price? Where was this way before the new entrance into that particular route? And so is this aimed at scheming and getting people out, then jack the price back up? So it's up to us to see how the government responds to this one here this morning. So those are some of the front pages today. All right, so there you go. But some of the issues that still not just hogging the headlines, but affecting people is this tariff hike, electricity tariff hike. Because yes, they talk about band A, B, C, D, and E, but at the moment, lots of people not exactly, maybe I should use the word sure. It's not as, for instance now, several who are supposed to be on band A are not getting the supply. So reference to the Charter of Service, wherein if I don't get this, this is what happens. Who's holding that end of the bargain? The discos don't seem to be holding that up, and it's affecting a lot of items. And so several areas, even up until this morning, several calls still came through that it appears as though they're getting a slap on the wrist. And so are we going to have a conversation as to if the discos know they don't have capacity because they want to blame it on, as far as people are concerned, is the rain, whether it's generation, transmission, or distribution. If people can't flip the switch on and it comes on to them, that is what matters. So if that can't happen, they consider the discos not to have upheld their own end of the Charter of Agreement, and as such, the rules should apply. Because when people have vended some of those units, and then for 5 days now, no supply whatsoever, who accounts for all of those things? And then, as several people have said, if you weary or wear out the so-called band A, who were supposed to be the ones to be bearing the brunt for several other bands, what then happens to all the other bands? And will the other bands, how long will the subsidy be for, if at all there is, for the other bands? Will they revisit the other bands? Will MITO apply to all the other bands, and when? So a lot of questions as to what happens.
Chamberlain, part of the question that you should also ask, I mean, because you're saying if this, I'm sure the discos are thanking God for how you're saying it, because I don't think I want to be so gentle. I'm just going to say that, look, if band A customers, who are supposed to be premium customers right now, paying through their noses, are complaining, you should ask what exactly is happening to the other bands. You know, because it means that you guys are not exactly the premium customers, as I think was one of our in-house data analysts said, you're not getting designer electricity. So you should cope with whatever it is you're being served. Look, I think that the distribution companies will have to up their game with regards to customer service. Because first and foremost, they have to ask themselves, if people are dissatisfied with the service that they're currently getting, how are they getting across to you? You know, what exactly have you put in place to ensure that these people can get their voices heard? And I don't think it has to be rocket science. I don't think that, because really what is happening is if you are supposed to be on a certain band, especially band A customers who are now paying times 3 what they used to pay, because we understand that if you don't get the service for maybe 2 days or so, you should be downgraded to band B or to the next band closest to you, or to the band or for which service you're getting. What if you're getting none at all? Because even the smallest band is supposed to get at least 4 hours a day.
So what, band 0?
So if band E is supposed to get at least 4 hours a day. So
that sounds like band 0.
If you don't get that at all, if you're not getting any service, it means that what is happening is a fraud.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It means that you're defrauding the customers. And I think that I'm not going to, shy away from saying that. There is help close at hand. I'm going to tell you something, Chamberlain. Since I came to Abuja, I have never been to an AEDC office to go and get electricity vended to me. That's because there are now service providers whom, you can go to their website, who even have apps that, you download the apps, or you go on their website, or you call them, and they can, you pay for the electricity and they send you your units. If for any reason there is any, there's any mishap along the line, their customer service is on point. And this came with, months of usage, and then later on, they built trust and they built confidence. I think that, right, and it's not only in Abuja that these apps are working, or these vendors are working. I understand in Lagos too. I do not know how many other places they work for, but they are present in many other places. I'm not the only one who has used them. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have been out of business by now. I think that perhaps the distribution companies can leverage on the customer service that these people already have to see how customers can actually get across to them. To be very honest, these are not the best of times for lots of electricity consumers. I did raise that question when Mr. Akpene was here as to what will happen, especially in this rainy season when we will have windstorms, we will have thunderstorms, and all manner of storms. What will happen when electricity lines and poles are not fixed on time? People have asked what will happen down the line. You cannot just rely on feeder, electricity that is entering the feeder. What happens down the street when transformers are bad, when poles fall down? These are the kind of questions AEDC, IBEDC, Eco Disco, Kaduna Disco, all of these people have to invest in, money into customer service. Customers should not be frustrated, pulling out their hair, wondering when they're going to get supply. They too should be proactive to know where things have gone wrong. I mean, I want to imagine that they have the facility to be able to do so. Otherwise, what we will be serving the Nigerian people is a fraudulent service that will be given to them. Ayo.
I agree with you completely, Maokwe. And by the way, it's not everyone that really uses that kind of meter that you're talking about. There are those who still have to use their smart cards, and take their smart cards wherever they need to load up and all of that. And of course, I understand that that technology is being phased out gradually, but then there's still a lot of questions to answer about that. At the core of what you said, Maokwe, is what the complete cycle of communication, feedback. Without customer feedback, you can't know whether or not you are you're serving them well. And let them also know, let the discos also be aware that when they send their men out, they are literally putting their lives on the line, because people can do with them what they want, jungle justice or whatever you want to call it. Any MENEPA official come to my house, or whatever disco come to anybody's house, and they are not happy with their power supply. We have seen on social media and even everywhere, even reported in mainstream media, how people have reacted to that one. But guys, what stands out for me this morning is this little piece on the front page of the Guardian newspaper that says, we refuse to move on. 91 Chibok girls' parents tell Tinubu's wife, seek intervention. In 3 days, it will be exactly 10 years since the Chibok abductions. And between 2014 and this year, about 1,600 children, according to Save the Children, have been abducted in Nigeria. And I'm not talking about the general abductions of adults. 1,600 children over the past 10 years. That should be something very, very concerning and troubling for anyone. So what are we doing to ensure that these things don't happen? Please, and I speak for a number of people who wonder, how can hundreds of children be moved away from a particular school and someone comes and says, we don't know how it happened? That's some kind of things that no one wants to even believe, because you can't move 200 people out of a particular environment, children at that, without knowing. Those who deal with children will tell us it's a logistic nightmare to move children easily and smoothly without any incidences. These things need to stop if we indeed want the kind of future that we want Nigeria to have. 10 years down the line, they have refused to move on. Who is speaking to their hearts? That's my take on the front page of The Guardian this morning.
All right. Yeah. All right, then. So there you go. We will be back in a moment, so don't go away.